Not.
Not.
Hisham
Esham.
of these.
Of these.
Matahi,
Matahi.
the consciousness.
The consciousness.
Tavat,
Tavat.
that long.
That long.
Arukrama Angrim,
Urukrama Angrim.
the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
The lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
who is famous for performing
who is famous for performing
uncommon activities.
uncommon activities.
Spishati,
Srishati.
does touch.
Does touch.
Anartha,
Anartha.
of unwanted things.
Of unwanted things.
Apagamaha,
Apagama.
the disappearance.
The disappearance.
Yat,
Yat.
of which.
Of which.
Artaha,
Artaha.
the purpose.
The purpose.
Mahiyasam,
Mahiyasam.
of the great souls.
Of the great souls.
The Mahatmas or devotees.
The Mahatmas of the devotees.
Padorajaha,
Padaraja.
by the dust of the lotus feet.
By the dust of the lotus feet.
Abhishekam,
Abhishekam.
consecration.
Consecration.
Nishkinchananam,
Nishkinchananam.
of devotees who have nothing to do
Of devotees who have nothing to do
with this material world.
with this material world.
Na,
Na.
not.
Not.
Renita,
Nita.
may accept.
May accept.
Yavad,
Yavad.
as long as.
As long as.
Translation. Unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined toward materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, in this way one can be freed from material contamination. Okay, so purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Becoming Krishna conscious brings about anartha apagamaha, the disappearance of all anarthas, the miserable conditions we have unnecessarily accepted. The materialistic body is the basic principle of these unwanted, miserable conditions. The entire Vedic civilization is meant to relieve one from these unwanted miseries, but persons bound by the laws of nature do not know the destination of life. As described in the previous verse, Ishatantriyam iurutam nipodaha. They are conditioned by the three strong modes of material nature. The education that keeps the conditioned soul bound life after life is called materialistic education. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained that materialistic education expands the influence of Maya. Such an education induces the conditioned soul to be increasingly attracted to materialistic life and to stray further and further away from liberation from unwanted miseries. One may ask why highly educated persons do not take to Krishna consciousness. The reason is explained in this verse. Unless one takes shelter of a bona fide, fully Krishna conscious spiritual master, there is no chance of understanding Krishna. The educators, scholars, and big political leaders worshipped by millions of people cannot understand the goal of life and take to Krishna consciousness, for they have not accepted a bona fide spiritual master and the Vedas. Therefore, in the Mundaka Upanishad 3.2.3, it is said, Lematma pravachanena labhyona vedya nabhuna shutena. One cannot become self-realized simply by having an academic education, by presenting lectures in an erudite way, pravachanena labhya, or by being an intelligent scientist who discovers many wonderful things. One cannot understand Krishna unless one is graced by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Only one who has surrendered to a pure devotee of Krishna and taken the dust of his lotus feet can understand Krishna. First, one must understand how to get out of the clutches of Maya. The only means is to become Krishna conscious. And to become Krishna conscious very easily, one must take shelter of a realized soul, a Mahat or Mahatma, whose only interest is to engage in the service of the Supreme Lord, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, in the 9th chapter, text 13, Mahatmanas tumam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha bhajantyananyam manaso gitva bhutadam aviyam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Therefore, to end the unwanted miseries of life, one must become a devotee. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavat chakinchana sarvar gunas tatra samasute sura. One who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna consistently manifests all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods. This is from the Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter, text 12. Yasha Devi Paravatir Yata Devi Tatagaro Tashaite Prakatita Yarta Prakashante Mahatmana. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. That's from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.23. Ayam evaisha vrinte tenolabhyas tashaiva atma vivrinute tanum swam. The Lord is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person he manifests his own form. That's from the Mandaka Upanishad 3.2.3. These are Vedic injunctions. One must take shelter of a self-realized spiritual master and not a materially educated scholar or politician. One must take shelter of a niskinchana, a person engaged in devotional service and free from material contamination. That is the way to return home, back to Godhead. So again, Naishamatis tavadurukramangrim Sprishatjanartha bhagamo yadartaha Mahisham padavrajo vishekam Niskinchananam navranita yavat. So, Om Gana Chimadandasha Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shikave Namaha. So, Keshav, what is an anartha?
It's basically a quality that you don't want to possess.
That's good.
Which I have a whole PowerPoint presentation on.
Oh, really? You have a whole presentation?
I did it for JGG.
Oh, that's very nice. So give me an example. What are some qualities?
So there was one that Putna presents, which was Sila Guru, which means false guru.
Yeah.
And the Jamin, yeah, that one. Presents
Sura,
yes, presents an art of, I think it was greed. It's basically just qualities that will affect your conscious stuff.
Usually there's listed about 6 anarthas, the standard list. Do you remember that list? Lust.
Pride.
Anger. Greed. Illusion. And what is there when someone else has something you want? What is it?
Jealous?
And salad?
Jealousy.
That's good. He's good. He's very intelligent. And finally, fear. Bhaya. Fear. So this is the standard list of anarthas. And here it says the only way of getting rid of these anarthas is to take shelter at the lotus feet of a devotee. Or actually, pada rajobhishekam. That means take an abhishek from the dust of the feet. You know, but that literally that's what it means. Pada means feet. Rajo, bhishekam. So one must take a abhishek, full abhishek. So what does that mean? Does that mean to be taken literally or not? Actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti talks about this, not in the same context. But he talks about how one must get bhakti. Because, as Prabhupada quotes here in this particular purport, Bhakti Maham Abhijanati Yavanyas Jasmi Tatvata. So bhakti is the possession of a pure devotee. Krishna doesn't have bhakti. Krishna has love, but the type of bhakti that we need, the Bhakti Lata Bij, that's the devotee. And therefore you find this verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Brahmanda Brahmate Konma Bhagwan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhakti Lata Bij. That the living entity is wandering through all these different universes and various species of life. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, he gets the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of the creeper of devotion. And until he gets that, then there's no bhakti. There's no understanding of God. There's no bhakti. It's just like, at best, it's namabas, his chanting. So the question arises, how does one, or why does one get the association of a pure devotee? Is it simply by accident, you happen to be in the right place, No, it's actually when one is ready. It says, by the mercy of Krishna, one gets Guru, and by the mercy of Guru, one gets Krishna. So one has to be ready. I remember in my own instance, my own case, that I was definitely ready. I was praying to God, please let me serve you, let me know who you are. And then all of a sudden I turned on my radio, and there was Prabhupada chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And that's how I got my Bhakti Lata Bij, just from the radio. And I was just trying to listen to some mundane songs, but because I really was ready, materially exhausted, fried out, as they say. You ever heard that expression before? Then Krishna just sent Prabhupada. So there's other instances of this too in the Vedic literature. I'm not going to simply talk about my own history. We'll tell the story of Narada Muni. And Narada Muni is a very interesting personality. That in his previous life, he was a Gandharva. Gandharva is someone, who really likes to sing and go to Bollywood movies and things like that, Anyway, love songs. So he had all these Gandharvitis, or apsaras, or whatever you call them, that he was singing love songs to, like Bollywood songs. And then what happened is that there was Sankirtan going on at the same time. So he actually interfered with the Sankirtan by singing mundane songs. And when that happened, the demigods and the great sages got very angry with him. What did they do? They cursed him to become a Shudra. So he was born in a Shudra family, actually, a very low-class family. Basically, he only had a mother. He didn't have a father. I mean, obviously there was father somewhere, but, it was like that case of Satyakama. Anyway, that's another story, which I'm not going to tell right now, where the guy didn't know his father. So, so his mother was taking care of him, and then one time during the 4 months of the rainy season, the sages came, because during the rainy season the sages don't travel. Or didn't travel. I couldn't say don't travel. Didn't is actually more precise. Because in India, before they had roads, before they had airplanes, before they had trains, there was no way a sage could travel during the rainy season because it was all muddy and flooded. Because when you have the monsoon, it really rains. Just like one time I was going around Govardhan during the monsoon. None of you were there at that time. Because none of you are brave enough to come during that time of the year. You just want to come when it's nice weather.
I was alive.
So I was on Parikram. Actually, I was on the other side of Govardhan. I'm way back from Radhakund or something like that. And then all of a sudden it started to rain. And it rained, and it was up to here. I had to swim back to the ashram. Luckily, I didn't get sick because there's all sorts of stuff floating in, from the septic tanks and everything like that. But anyway, so it rains. It really rains in India during the monsoon. It's flooded, actually completely flooded. And then it stops. It doesn't rain continually. It's just like there's all of a sudden, without any warning, it starts going It's like someone poured a bucket of water down from the sky. Just completely intense. So anyway, so the sages remained in one place. So they happened to remain in the same place where this Shudra boy was, who was this Gandharva in his previous life named, forget his name, Upabarya. Yeah, Upabarya was his name. And so he took advantage of serving them. And he took advantage, and he also ate their remnants one time with their permission. Prabhupada actually said in that context one could eat the remnants of a sage with or without permission, or even against their permission. Just like sometimes you find with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that devotees would bathe his feet without his permission and drink the water. There was when they were cleaning the Gundicha temple one time, there was one Bengali Vaishnava who actually did that, and Lord Chaitanya got very upset with him. And anyway, so another time a devotee actually did it, and Lord Chaitanya let him do it. And that was Kalidas. That's an interesting story. Why did Lord Chaitanya let him do it? Because this relates to the topic here, that particular individual was always serving the Vaishnavas. Because Kalidas, what happened was Kalidas took a vow. He's actually the perfection of this particular injunction here. He took a vow that he would eat the remnants of every Vaishnava in Navadvip area. And the way he did that is that he would bring prasadam or fruit to someone's house and give it to them so the person and his wife could eat it. And then he'd wait outside in hiding. And when they threw it away in the garbage, he would pick it up and suck on it. You heard that story before? A very nice story. And so he got the mercy of all the Vaishnavas. Wow. And as a result, Lord Chaitanya gave him the ability to drink the foot bathing water. When Lord Chaitanya was entering the temple, he would bathe his feet, and this Kalidas, he would go, and Lord Chaitanya said, all right, that's enough. Krishna fulfilled your desire. Of course, with the Vaishnava who drank the foot bathing water of Lord Chaitanya in the Gundicha temple, Lord Chaitanya kicked him out of the temple. He got angry because that Vaishnava had not gotten the mercy of other Vaishnavas before he did that. So you see, actually, that by that lesson we can learn, or example, we can learn the importance of taking shelter of Vaishnavas. So getting back to the story of Narada Muni. So anyway, so little tiny Narada, whatever he was called at that particular point, was serving the sages. Actually, he even took initiation at 5 years of age. That's pretty far out. Now we find someone has to be at 35 before they become ready. So anyway, 5 years of age, he took initiation. Actually, we have many disciples, not at 5, but at 12, who've taken initiation. Just like there's one of my disciples in Melbourne. She has 3 daughters, and one took initiation at 13, the other one took initiation at 16. And they're living in Melbourne. Anyway, maybe you met them before. No? At Tauchi's house? No?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember. Divya Rupa and her 2 children. Yeah, anyway, so anyway, he took initiation, and he ate the remnants, got their blessings, and then they disappeared. Another point is, one may think, why did he get that mercy? Well, he got that mercy because he was cursed by the sages before, when he was singing love songs in the previous birth. And when you get cursed by a devotee, you get blessed by them. Like when Narada Muni cursed Mani Griva Nalakuvara, that was a blessing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Would you like to stand as a tree for so many years?
No.
And then see Krishna?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, but that was a trade now.
No. So anyway, he blessed them that they would see Krishna, and Krishna would knock them down. So anyway, so Narada Muni, he was a little kid, and then what happened after the sages left, a snake came and bit his mother. So he was only 5 years old. And a snake came and bit his mother. And guess what? He just headed for the hills and remembered Krishna because he got the mercy. So early in life, he was just completely immersed in Krishna consciousness. And it's described he toured everywhere. And one time he actually saw Krishna, Lord Vishnu actually. He saw Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu said, hey, this is the last time you're going to be able to see me in this life. So it was just to whet his appetite. You know what it means, whetting the appetite? It means just sort of like give him a coming attraction.
You're leaving him hanging.
Yeah, leaving him hanging. Oh my God, I saw Lord Vishnu. I'm not going to be able to see him again in this lifetime. So he enthusiastically served, and I guess he chanted and did all sorts of devotional activities throughout his life. Next life, he took his spiritual body, described like the thunder and lightning, and that was the body of Narada Muni. Simply by that association with the sages during the rainy season. That's all he had. And of course, Prahlad Maharaj, all he had was association while he was in the womb of his mother. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Shukadeva Goswami, all he had was association while he was in the womb of his father. Of his mother's, not father. The womb of his mother for 16 years. That was a long Bhagavatam class. And, eventually he did take instruction in the Bhagavatam after he left the womb. But his father, he was so detached right after birth that he just ran away, and his father was crying, oh my son, come back. He waits 16 years for a kid to be born, naturally.
And the kid runs away.
Yeah, he runs away. It's not the nicest thing a kid could do to his father. And it's described that Shukadeva Goswami saw his father so depressed that he used his mystic power to create an imitation Shukadeva clone. So the father took back the clone so he could feel a little bit pacified. That was Vyasadeva, took back the clone. So, anyway, so these are different stories. And this particular point is brought out really clearly in a conversation that Maharaj Rahugana had with Jadabharata. You all remember Jadabharata?
Yes.
Jadabharata used to be a deer, and before that he was Bharat Maharaj. So Jadabharata, Jada means like someone who's like a stone. In other words, he acted like an idiot so that nobody would engage him in nonsense. Sometimes devotees do that. Not in our movement, though. They just act like they're idiots, so the parents won't send them to school. Don't do that, Casey. Don't do that. So, what's that? So anyway, so what happened is that Jadabharata was acting like an idiot. He washed his hands before he ate, not after he ate, and before he went to the stoolroom, and not after he went to the stoolroom. And it was a mess. And there were a number of things that happened, such as, his brothers offering him, selling him to the dacoy, putting him out in the fields to scare the crows away. The dacoys trying to kill him and offer him to the goddess Kali. But anyway, part of the story that I'm going to tell right now is an interaction with Maharaj Rahugana. He became a palanquin carrier. And as he was carrying the palanquin of Maharaj Rahugana, what happened is that there were some ants there, so he was jumping to avoid the ants. And Maharaj Rahugana was very upset because the palanquin was going from side to side. And he was thinking, what kind of palanquin carrier are you? And he began to chastise Jadabharata. And Jadabharata sort of responded philosophically. And they had this interesting conversation. And the king was interested. How can you become Krishna conscious? And here's the verse that's applicable as far as this discussion is concerned. He said, Rahuganai tat tapasa nayati nachejya nirvapanad grahadva nachandasa naiva jalagni suryar abhana mahatpada rajobhishekam. He said, you cannot become Krishna conscious by executing austerity. Rahuganai tat tapasa nayati, nor by taking sannyas. People used to think in the movement that if you took sannyas, you became Krishna conscious immediately. It doesn't work like that. Taking sannyas means you just change your dress. It's not that that doesn't make you Krishna conscious. What makes you Krishna conscious is taking shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee. So anyway, the yati. Nor can one become Krishna conscious by executing other austerities like putting yourself in ice in the middle of the winter or fire in the middle of the summer. Sometimes the sages do that. They actually make a fire around themselves when it's really hot, like 50 degrees out in India, and they execute austerities. And that's not the method. Nor by becoming a good grahasta. That's another statement he made. Only by Rajobi Shekam, taking the same thing. Actually, it's the same thing that's mentioned here. Pada Rajobi Shekam, the same exact statement. By taking a bath or abhishek in the dust of the feet of the great devotees. So what does it mean? Anyway, that's exactly a parallel verse to this particular verse. So what does it mean to take a bath or smear upon your body the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava? Of course, I guess it is helpful. I mean, when I was walking with Prabhupada on the beach, I would take the sand from his footprints and eat him. You know, that was nice. Because it's described, there are very powerful substances, like the foot bathing water, the dust of the feet, and the prasadam remnants of a pure devotee. These are very powerful substances. But even more important, or more powerful than those substances, is what, Keshav? No. No, the sound vibration coming from the lips of a pure devotee. It's described in the Bhagavatam that the sound vibration coming from the lips of the pure devotee contains within it the saffron dust particles of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore you have Lord Kapiladev state, Satam prasangam mamavirya samvado, that one should hear from the Satam, that means the sages of the pure devotees, like the word Sat means eternal, those who have realized their eternal nature. Prasangan mamavirya samvada, one should hear about Krishna's activities from a pure devotee. Bhavanti vritkarna rasayana kata, that in that way, this wonderful rasayana, just like the words rasayana means like a tasty medicine. Like if you go to an Ayurvedic physician, they'll say, oh, here's a rasayana for you. Just like one time there was a physician who came to Mayapur and he was selling Jeev Rasayan and Brahmi Rasayan. You've heard of these things before? Jeev Rasayan makes you very powerful. Brahmi Rasayan makes you have a good brain. So I bought it from him. And it was very tasty. It was like jam.
Oh.
Yeah, it tasted like jam, you know. So I took it, and all of a sudden, you know, like Popeye and his spit.
You haven't seen that.
No, you don't know what we're talking about. He doesn't know. So, anyway, so I took it. So getting back to the point, is that rasayana means a tasty, medicinal something that helps you. And so rasayana kata is different. It means rasayana, a tasty, medicinal, kata, talk. You know, like Krishna kata, like that. Rasayana kata. And then, when one associates by the sound hearing, the sound vibration, then tajoshana dashu apavarga vartmani. Such a person can proceed on the path of apavarga. Because here we're talking about anarthas, right? Right, Keshav?
Mm-hmm.
Like kam, krodha, madamacharya, bharibhaya. So, pavarga pretty much means the same thing. There's two words, apavarga and pavarga. Apavarga means liberation. Pavarga can be analyzed in different ways according to the acharyas. It means pa, ma, ba, Porishama. Anyway, it means, I'll translate what I mean by that. It means hard work, foaming at the mouth, fainting, and ultimately bhaya, fear, and ultimately mrityu. So this word is actually been analyzed in Sanskrit by the acharyas to mean all those different things. So, but apavarga means the negation of all those things. Like we have karma and akarma, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is karma?
Basically it's this thing, if you do something, it happens back to you.
That's right. If you're not nice to your parents,
They do it back
That-
to you.
no, they won't do it back to you.
Oh, then quick.
Then when you have children, they'll do it back to you.
Oh, just don't have children. Outsmarted system.
Oh my God.
System beaten.
So, anyway, so karma is like you act and there's a reaction. So akarma means what?
There's no reaction from
No reaction, or it means also devotional service, which has no reaction. So that's why Krishna says in the Gita, you have to know the difference between karma, akarma, and vikarma. What's vikarma? No, you don't know. It means bad karma.
Oh.
It means that you do something bad, you get a bad reaction. So there's akarma, akarma, and vikarma.
What about good karma?
And also you have the word kama.
Karma.
What does kama mean? Without the R, no R. Kama.
What?
No.
Lust is
Gone.
Lust.
Yes.
And what is akama?
Without lust.
Oh,
Without lust.
Yes.
Karma.
So anyway, so apavarga means without pavarga. In other words, apavarga. And what is vartmani? Vartmani means path. So one proceeds on the path by hearing from a pure devotee. One proceeds on the path of apavarga vartmani. And that path is described in the last line of that verse, which is Shadaratir Anukramishati. That you follow the path of apavarga vartmani, and that path is Shraddha, faith, Ratir, taste, and then ultimately bhakti. Anukramishati means they follow anukramishati. They follow one after the other. So it all comes from hearing from a pure devotee. That's more important than the foot dust. Like one time Prabhupada was asked by a devotee, I just want the dust from your feet. And Prabhupada said, you'll have to keep moving and preach because my feet are always moving. I know, if you simply sat around and just approached Prabhupada and kept taking the dust, Prabhupada would say, get out of here and go to work. Do something practical. The one time, this is an interesting story that illustrates the fact with Prabhupada. There was one of my godbrothers, his name was Vishal, and, very funny devotee. And so Prabhupada would come out of the temple in the morning for the morning walk. And every morning when Prabhupada would come out, he'd say, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. So one morning Prabhupada came out and he noticed that there was dirt all around. And Prabhupada said, clean up, do something practical. Don't say Jai. Prabhupada said there's so many Jai men. Jai devotees,
Dharmadvajas.
Yeah.
In the scriptures.
Yeah, and don't be a Jai devotee. Do something practical. So, anyway, the point is, we should hear Shrushrav Shraddhanasa Vasudeva Kata Ruchi Shan Mahatsevya Vipra Punyatirtana Shevanat. So hearing is actually the best service. Because without hearing, there's no Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. There's no Kirtanam and there's no Smaranam. In other words, there's no chanting or preaching, there's no Smaranam, there's no Archanam, there's no Vandanam, there's no Sakyam, there's no Atma Nivedanam, and none of those things. In other words, no prayers. You can't do anything properly without hearing. And then we hear from a pure devotee, and we're fortunate enough to hear from Srila Prabhupada in his book. So any questions or comments? Yes, Keisha.
Okay, so in the purport, you were saying how it said that becoming Krishna conscious brings out anartha apagama, which means the disappearance of all anarthas. So is there like a certain level of Krishna consciousness that you have to reach before those anarthas are removed, or is it just as soon as you become?
That's a good question. There's a whole progression. But you have to go.
Going good. Walk.
Okay, enjoy yourself. There's a whole progression in one's scheme of advancement. Do shraddhatata sadhu sangota bhajana kriya. And then nartha nivritti shat. And then after that nishta, then ruchi. Anyway, so it's one of the stages in devotional service. Although throughout the whole process, you're starting to get rid of the anarthas. And until one reaches prema, one is not absolutely free from anarthas. Even at bhava, the stage of bhava, which is preliminary to prema, comes right before prema, you still don't have anarthas, but you could succumb to the anarthas if you're not careful. That's what I mean by absolute. You're free from anarthas, but not absolutely free. Absolutely free means it can't come back. They can't come back.
So you could only be absolutely free at the state of prema.
Prema, pure devotional service. But in bhava, you don't have anarthas. But if you're not careful, they can come back. Like the example given, again, is Bharat Maharaj. He was in the stage of bhava. He had no anarthas, but he was not careful, and he started playing with that deer, thinking himself, it wasn't wrong for him to take care of the deer, but it was wrong for him to think that he is the benefactor of the deer and become attached to the deer. So that can happen. Even if one's on a very high stage of devotional service and not prema, then anarthas can come back if you're not alert. What stage are you at? Ado, Shraddha, Tadas?
I don't know.
You don't know. Well, anyway, the first stage is Ado, Shraddha. That means a little interest, a little faith, and then you begin to associate with devotees. You associate with devotees? Okay. So you're on the stage of sadhu sangha. That's nice. It's a high stage. Ado shraddha ta sadhu sango ta. And then bhajana kriya, a little bit. You know what the stage of bhajana kriya is? Bhajana kriya means you're regulated in your devotional service. You get up early every morning, chant your rounds every day.
Chant a few rounds every day.
Yeah, that's good. So maybe you're on the stage of bhajana kriya, the beginning stage of bhajana
I
kriya.
chant like 3 rounds.
I have to chase you
But I do like 1 round at home and 2 rounds at the club.
So yeah, you're on the stage. You're on the stage, the beginning stage of bhajana kriya, and then you're working. Are you working on your anarthas?
No, not really.
Okay. Okay. So on that happy note, any other questions or comments?
Just to comment,
Yeah.
the important point you raised today is probably, I interpret it in this way that Vani Seva is more important than Bhakti Seva.
Yes, that's right.
Spiritual master.
Mhm.
I'm just not like washing and drinking the water of the lotus feet, but rather following the instructions.
Yeah, that's the important thing. I remember there were some devotees who always wanted to drink the water, even the bathing water of the Guru. So they arranged that the drain pipe from his shower would come to the outside, and they could collect it in a bucket and drink it. That's pretty moochie.
Yes.
I wouldn't advise that. So, anyway, the main service is hearing. And of course, while the Guru or the great sage is on the planet, it's our business to engage in Vapu Seva. Like we're reading from Tamal Krishnavari's book, BKG SB diary. And he was engaged in Vapu Seva. It's not wrong, it's ecstatic.
Yes.
However, there's other stories. One story where Prabhupada was keeping Harikesh as his personal assistant, and then Prabhupada said, "You should go to Russia." And Harikesh took it like Prabhupada was kicking him away. But Prabhupada said, "No, you're simply sitting here rotting." So you see that Prabhupada actually considered the preaching as more important than his personal service. When Harikesh was crying, he thought, Prabhupada just doesn't want me anymore, he's kicking me away. But actually Prabhupada was sending him to higher service.
And Prabhupada would have thought that he's more useful in
Yes.
preaching.
Preaching, and yes, and actually serving in separation is very high too.
Low down.
Vipralambha, serving in separation. So, but while the Guru is present, one should serve. It's not that one should say, the Guru was saying, "Where's Prasad?" He said, "No, I'm serving you in separation." I'm in the temple. I have to. Yeah, I have to serve the deity. He's got so much service to do, and that's not good. Actually, so when I come to town, for example, the disciples should, they can minimize on other things
Yes.
and take association. Because you don't know how long you will have association with a devotee. We didn't know how long we were going to have association with Prabhupada. We all thought, oh, Prabhupada will just be coming back. He gets sick, then gets better, gets sick and gets better. It's just his pastime. Nobody expected Prabhupada to disappear. And yet he did.
Yes.
All right. Yes.
Gurudev, you know how Narad Muni is eternal?
Yeah.
I've forgotten why the pastime happened when he was a little boy and he was quiet. How is that? If he's eternal,
He's eternal. He became eternal.
so he became eternal.
Yeah, that's how he
after that.
became the great Narada Muni.
Ah, okay.
So, I think it wasn't eternal.
Well, he's eternal. The soul's always eternal.
Yes, but
But when one becomes sadhan siddha,
He was a Gandhara.
when one becomes sadhan siddha, it's the same thing as one who's nitya siddha.
Yes.
You understand? Because he's perfect.
Okay.
It doesn't matter
Yes.
what happened before. He's perfect, and that perfection is eternal. After that,
So Nitya Siddha is already perfect.
nitya siddha is already perfect, never fell down.
Yes. And Sadhana Siddha
Sadhana
will
Siddha.
come up to that.
He comes up, but siddha, one is siddha, one is siddha.
That's it. Yeah.
Whether it's nitya siddha, kripa siddha, any type of siddha. If one becomes perfect, he's perfect.
That's right.
You don't say, "Hey, Guru Maharaj, you were a dog before.
Yes.
Here's a picture of you smoking ganja before."
Yes. And in the case of Narada Muni,
And sometimes even pure devotees who are nitya siddha have pastimes that don't appear to be devotee pastimes or activities in previous life. Like, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there was even like fish eating.
okay.
Anyway, there were some things in his past. So people should not criticize a Vaishnava because of his past.
No.
Or Haridas Thakur born in a Muslim family. Of course, Prabhupada never ate meat his whole life. Even when the doctor tried to feed him chicken soup, it didn't work. Dr. Bose, he tried to give him chicken soup.
Yes.
But, sometimes there'll appear to be activities in even a nitya siddha's previous life that appear to be material. Or maybe are material. But that's Krishna's arrangement, to glorify the devotee in a nitya siddha. But whether it's nitya siddha, sadhana siddha, we don't distinguish. We don't say to a devotee, in the past you were doing this or that. According to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that's one way you should avoid in your dealings with Vaishnavas. Don't talk about a Vaishnava's past, don't talk about present reaction, token reactions to past activities. Don't talk about, physical deformities, or anything like, which is a reaction to past activities. Don't even mention an accidental deviation. You know, you have to be very, accidental means non-premeditated. If you premeditate something, it's not accidental.
No.
Like if I premeditate, well, today I'm going to the bar. Keshav just show me where the nearest bar is. Then it's not accidental. But if I'm just walking by the bar and someone offers me a glass of wine, you know, I'd never do that anyway. It's a crazy example. But just let's say in the case of someone who was previously addicted to liquor, someone comes up and just offers him a glass and he just takes a sip. That's an accidental fall down. Of course, if the accidental fall down happens every day, it's no longer accidental. Well, then it's like premeditated. So one should not criticize a Vaishnava. You know, as far as we're concerned, sadhana siddha, nitya siddha, it doesn't make a difference. Okay? All right, time for prasadam siddha.
One more question. Narada
Yeah.
Muni, is he only on this this solar system, or is he in
No, he travels everywhere.
same?
So there's only one Narvin.
There's one by that name, but there's other personalities who have the same opulence. It's unlimited. You can do that. You can travel. Just chanting the glories of the Lord. Of course, Narada has the Veena, and so they may give you something else.
A guitar.
A guitar or cymbals or something like that.
Yeah.
Or what other instruments are there? Djembe drum.
Violin.
So it's not that he's going to come back and do the same thing again or something.
No, I mean, he's liberated. I mean, he may do a Leela where he doesn't appear liberated. I mean, there's that whole story of Narada Muni and, you know, how he wanted a face like Hari, you know.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yes, that's right. I've got a monkey face.
Yeah, and he got a monkey face. He's very interested in marrying this beautiful girl, and then she comes, at the swine bar, she goes around and she sees this man with a monkey face, and she starts laughing. And he gets angry and curses Vishnu. It's a pastime.
Yes.
It's a pastime. Narada. I mean, there's several pastimes like that with Narada, but these are just pastimes of a pure devotee. Okay. Time for prasadam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.